Hi, this is Jeremy Murphy. I am an asthmatic ultramarathoner from Lincoln, Nebraska. Also a running coach. I'm an RRCA certified running coach, and I'm here to talk to you about how to train for road races. Throughout the show, I'll have a couple recommendations on tips, tricks, techniques, and some tools that you might want to try that might enhance your running experience in running road races. We'll talk about what a road race is, and maybe we'll talk about some races that some of you might be training for. So be happy to, it's always fun to find out which races other runners are running. That triggers ideas as far as what races we could run potentially. So, but before I get to the topic here of road races and the Run Laughlin Half Marathon, which is the first one they've had in Laughlin, Nevada, that I'm running in 30 days. I'll let you know about a product that I have received for free. And there was a Twitter chat with Run This Year on Twitter, and they have periodic giveaways for participants. And so one day I was particularly creative, I guess, and I won a run bell. And here's the run bell. You hear that? I'm going to do it a couple more times, see if you can hear it. Okay. And Run Bell is a runner safety product that I highly recommend for if you're running on trails or if you're running a race, you've got a lot of traffic, people, dogs, bikers, etc. You want to make sure that they can hear you coming. So as you come up upon them, you know, the tradition is to say on your left. That's what all the cyclists say when they pass me on the trail or a faster runner. But with the Run Bell, which is a product made in Japan, comes in a little gift box, looks like this. You can just, if you're getting close to a runner and you want to make sure that they hear you, or bikers or pets, you ring the Run Bell and it gets their attention. So, you can still say on the left, but you can ring the bell and let them know that you're coming. Great idea. So check out Run Bell. They're on Twitter. Japanese manufacturer, excellent product, very creative. And as you can see, it has little O-rings that pop out. And these O-rings still fit over gloves, so you can wear them in the winter. You can still use these and keep yourself and keep others safe. Safety is a big deal. Safety should be our first priority as runners. And it's something that we as running coaches have a responsibility to emphasize with people that we're helping train. So let me get right to the race that's coming up in 30 days. I'll tell you about a road race that I'm running. It's called the Run Laughlin Inaugural Half Marathon. And they have the word bullhead in there. And let's see. It's called the official Laughlin Bullhead Half Marathon. I keep forgetting about Bullhead. And I guess Bullhead, Arizona is part of this race. And this is a unique race because it takes place in 2 states, 2 time zones, crosses a dam. Part of it's on a trail, and that gets into another issue I'll talk about a little bit with trail races. You want to make sure that that you're with trail races, you want to make sure that you're using trail shoes. Trails have a special terrain. You've got rocks, roots, etc., things like that to worry about. I've asked the course directors if they have if they have snakes on this course, and I guess those could be present. So got to watch out for those on the trail portion of the race in particular. But the way that I found out about this race, I was on Run Chat one day which is a Twitter chat on Sunday nights, and I found out that they were giving away a free entry to this race. And I thought, well, I'll give it a try. I'm probably not going to win. Actually, it was Run Chat Hunt. It was my photography that won me a free entry to this race. And they selected 1 male winner and 1 female winner. And I just had to pay for the airfare, and the hotel is covered. Got to pay for my rental car. So I'm basically paying for the travel, and they're handling the hotel accommodations and the race entry, which is nice. It's it's a working trip, but it's a running trip, and it's it's what we call a runcation. You have vacations, and then you have runcations. And if you're a runner and you schedule a special vacation that's run centered, you can call that a runcation. So you can travel with your family. And unfortunately, with the timing of this race on December 5th, it didn't work out for my wife and daughter to travel due to my wife's work schedule, my daughter's school, and such. So, but anyway, let me show you a map of this course. I don't know how well the camera's gonna be able to put this up, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to cover up my face, but I want to show you the map. As you can see, on this side, we have Arizona, and on the western side, we have Nevada, and we have the Davis Dam is. Let's see, where is the dam? Davis Dam is up here, right here. So you can see the course kind of loops around and then comes up, we cross the Davis Dam into Arizona and then come back. And let's see, and then we finish back close to the start. The start is right here is the 1 mile mark. So the start and finish are basically at the bottom on the southern side here. But this is the course map. First time they've ever put on this race, so it's exciting to be a part of that, exciting to be in 2 states in the same race, and 2 time zones. And I'm someone that's always fascinated with time, so when we have to switch our clocks, it always frustrates me because I want to know what time it is actually and not what time does it say on the microwave or the the coffee maker and such. So, but anyway, I'll just wear my Garmin and let the Garmin keep track of what time. And I'm sure it's a chip race, so they'll calculate the net time from our shoes and all that. But with this being a trail race, a half marathon, you talk about, for a full marathon, which I think is considered a road race, we should probably talk about what is a road race. And so, a road race is anything that, you're going to have to sign a waiver for that would, it would tell you that you have to sign it, and it would call it a road race. It's basically anything that isn't running around a track is what I would classify as being a road race. Now, if you have something that's all trail or predominantly trail, that gets called a trail race. And this race is, the Run Laughlin race is kind of a blend of those. A part of it's trail, I think about 4 or 5 miles, something like that. And I checked on whether we should wear trail shoes or not, what they were recommending on that. And they said that we didn't really need to. So we don't need to worry about that. But with trail shoes, you get a little bit different, they're just kind of designed to deal with kind of more of a rocky, uneven terrain. And, that's something that's definitely a threat when you're training for a race. You want to make sure that you're not tripping over something. In fact, that's become one of the most dangerous things for me as a runner, is not so much the giant obstacles that we find, but the smallest crack in the sidewalk that you don't see, or you land funny, or the dog's pulling me one direction and I'm trying to, balance myself the other way and miss a sprinkler head or whatever. Almost knocked me out of a run recently. Just sprinkler head that didn't fall back down that I didn't see. So anyway, you figure out what road race you're training for. And there are really 4 parts of, training for a race effectively. You've got the, eating healthy, eating nutritious food, eating whole food. You've got to hydrate. It's the second component. You've got to drink water, primarily, is what we're made of. And we forget to drink water. We're drinking all these other crazy sugary drinks and things like that. And we need to focus on making sure that we're hydrating adequately. So, for me, I measure my hydration in 32-ounce segments every day and try to, drain this, I don't know, at least 3 times a day, something like that. Sometimes I don't quite get up to that. The coffee consumption is an issue for some people, overdo that, and then they find that they're become a little more dehydrated sometimes. So, but if you track your your hydration with something like this. You can keep track of where you are, and if you fall behind, you can make sure that you drain the bottle when you can, drain the water bottle. The third component of training for a race effectively is exercise. The mechanics of figuring out when your race is, and then what I do is kind of work backwards and figure out when I have to be where, and you've got to work in a taper period. So, for example, for a full marathon, which is kind of my favorite distance, I tend to, work in a 2 to 3 week taper, depending on fatigue and things like that, and then work backwards from there. So let's see, so really for a half marathon, which is this race in Laughlin, Arizona, the one that I showed you the map for, this is December 5th. It's 30 days from today. I've got to work in like a week taper. So that's probably going to be adequate. Anyway, for a shorter race, you probably don't need to taper quite as much. I mean, for a 5K, 10K, those are a little more particularized. We don't need to worry so much about, a taper with something like that. But definitely for a half marathon, and again, any running plan that's set up with a running coach should be customized to the runner. So I want to make sure I make that clear. I'm not trying to give some blanket recommendation that might not be appropriate for someone depending on their, physical condition, age, health history. I mean, sometimes you got to take into account chronic conditions, illness. One thing I want to make sure I mention with setting this schedule up, if you're doing like a 16 to 18 week marathon training program, which, most programs are kind of in the 15 to 18 week range, you want to make sure you work in, that you work in that taper period, but you might want to have a week where you just assume something's going to go wrong, that someone's going to possibly get ill or get busy at work. And so, I mean, I just try to build in a week where things aren't going to go as well as I expect. So, so if I fall off track for that 1 week, things aren't going to be at a crisis level or anything like that. You want to build that week into your schedule, so you're not having to, you're not having to catch up later, because, you miss a tough week of workouts, you get late into your training season, and it's not always it's really not a good idea to try to catch up and double up and things like that with, trying to work in workouts that you miss. Sometimes it's better to just let them go and recalculate like the GPS likes to tell us. The fourth component of training for a road race effectively is sleep. Sleep is the X factor that we as runners really have forgotten. We take it for granted. We try to cut corners and we say, okay, well, I'll do proper nutrition. I'll do proper hydration. I'll do smart, effective training that calculates, how to get me where I need to go. But I'll cut corners with sleep. I'll just sleep a little less so I can, run more or work more, or, or I'll just stay up too late on some technological device. That's a problem for many of us. So, it's best to just make sure that sleep is one of those bedrock principles. Think of training for a road race as a table, and you have these 4 legs. You have the proper nutrition, proper hydration, exercise, and sleep, which I would say would include rest. And so it would include rest days. And the rest issue is tough for me because not only because sometimes I suffer from insomnia, not always, I mean, it's periodic, but I tend to have trouble taking rest days too, because I'm one of these run streakers. And what a run streak is running a mile or more every day consecutively, and trying to see how long you can stretch that. You know, the trick with this is that you have to work in like a one miler every week. So you schedule at least one easy day. Ideally, you want to work in maybe 2, possibly 3 if you're, you know, in a taper phase or something like that. Although those become rest days for people that are training conventionally. But for people that are run streakers, just to make you aware of it, there is an international Streak Runners International and the United States Run Streak Association. There's also a Run This Year effort and a 2015 miles in 2015 program. And the Run This Year people, they set up a calendar, and it shows you, I'll try to get this closer to the camera. It shows you day by day, if you plug specific numbers into this program, that you can get up to 2015 miles or more of running by the end of the year. And you can see that some days we have to make modifications. So for example, on December 5th, I'm substituting the, let's see, the recommendation is either 5 or 6 miles. So I have that changed to the Run Laughlin Half Marathon. So it'll be a 13.1 mile run instead. So, you know, really with run streaking, I've just learned you have to really be careful about overtraining. I will address overtraining in a future show. I want to make sure that that I do that. And I probably should write about that on my running blog. The runninggrooveshark.com is where you can find that. So, you know, that's just something. Overtraining is an issue for runners because running is a very addictive form of exercise. And I've fallen prey to this a little bit. You really get the endorphin effect is very powerful and it's very uplifting. But you get hooked on that a little bit. And so it makes you want to run more, perhaps run more or with greater intensity than you should for the conditions or for how you're feeling or, you know, with what, you know, sometimes you mess up your nutrition, you overeat, and then you try to run right away, or you don't take a break and before running. You know, we talk about the 1 hour break after you eat before you go swimming. And I don't know if there's really anything hard and fast about that. I mean, you could have a snack and go swimming right away if it's not a big snack. But for, you know, for runners, you know, people talk about how many hours it takes for the food to settle. And for a lot of us, it's 2 to 3 hours if you're talking about a big meal. But I've had to be creative with this too, because let me give you an example. At the beginning of the year, I said, okay, I'm going to run every day this year. I'm going to try to run 2015 miles. I'm going to pick a major race. I'd recommend that if you're serious about running or you want to be, that you pick a major race to strive for every year, a mountaintop race, if you will. And then you tailor your workout schedule around that, factoring in you're going to have weeks where things don't go well, or you have terrible weather, or you know, you get injured, you get sick. I mean, it's the Murphy's Law of running. You're going to have a couple things go wrong. You just try to factor that in, and then if something does go wrong, you've already accounted for it. But I decided, well, I'm going to try to run 365 runs this year because that would be one every day. And what I didn't realize is, oh, well, we're going to get a dog in March. And so some of my runs are going to be broken up into smaller slices. And so, you know, typically I'll take our dog for, you know, a 1 to 3 mile run, bring her back, eat something light, and then go back out and finish running. You know, our dog's still a puppy. She's 10 months old. She's an English setter. Her name is Misty. I've done at least one blab with her if you're interested, where we had her on at the beginning of the blab. I think that was the Halloween episode. But anyway, my dog has motivated me to run in all these smaller slices. And so I've already run 500 times this year, just counting those smaller slices. And I never would have thought that was possible. You know, one, for someone that's had asthma since 1979, it's been a kind of a roller coaster ride with that. It's been under control very well for the past couple of years, though. But you know, within the past couple of years, I was really struggling with it. In fact, it was last year. It was last year in August. I was still struggling with it. And since then, it's been, really almost completely under control due to me taking steps to address stress issues that I had that I didn't realize, and to really be smarter about not overtraining. I was really pushing the envelope with overtraining last year, and that didn't help matters. So, we try to factor in chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes. People have joint issues sometimes, and we're all teetering on the edge trying to avoid injuries. And that brings me to something I wanted to tell you about that can assist with that. There's a tape called kinesiology tape, and I guess I like the KT tape brand. There are different brands, but let me show this to you real quick, just in the event that this might be helpful to any of you. But this is the KT Tape Pro Strip, and you can see the what it looks like here. You can cut this with a scissors. This is the Pro version that you can probably leave on for up to 5 to 7 days if it'll stay on that long. It really depends on the humidity and that type of thing. Whether it will stay on that long. The non-pro version will stay on for 2 to 3 days. But I highly recommend the pro version. Costs close to $20, and it's a very smart investment. You can get it at Target, CVS. You can get it from kttape.com online. But it's a smart investment. It'll prevent injuries, and just a matter of learning how to apply it. I'm going to pause the recording for a second. I need to. Okay, we're back. I talked about KT tape a little bit that you can get at Target or CVS. Comes in a circular, looks like a drum-shaped container. It actually comes in a box, but these are in the box when you buy it. Another thing that's handy when you're done with the roll, you save the container. You can use it for storage for all kinds of things. Paper clips, binder clips, miscellaneous small items that you can't find any great container that shape and size to put it in. But KT tape is a really smart investment. And, for me, I had major issues with plantar fasciitis when I was younger, and a little less wise about where I landed with my feet when I ran. And so this has allowed me to, I tape this, for example, I put it on my Achilles. There's an Achilles application where you tape on the bottom of your foot and covering the Achilles in the back. There's a lot of friction when you run, regardless of how you run on the back of your foot. So I'll use this trail shoe for an example. But your foot is here, and it keeps rubbing against the back, and causes a lot of chafing, blistering, etc., bleeding sometimes if you run a lot. So that's something I highly recommend that you check out. About $19 or so. There's the cheaper version that can last up to 2 or 3 days, is maybe $15 to $17, depending on where you get it. And KT tape also gives out free rolls on Twitter and on Facebook. I think you kind of have to catch it on a specific day and say which colors you like, and you can randomly win rolls. And I've randomly won a roll or two occasionally, and I think one of them had the Boston Marathon on it or something. I think it was special Boston Marathon tape they made close to the timing of that race in April. So that's kind of the big marathon race that a lot of runners are shooting for. And you talk about a lifetime bucket list race, and that's definitely one for me. Although I've tried to qualify for Boston by time, and just haven't been fortunate enough to get there yet. The asthma is an issue, but I think some of it's just mental too. Getting so focused on what your goal is and making that a high enough priority that you're training at that level. And my training has not, been at the level necessary to qualify for Boston. let me talk about, let's see, the trail shoe options. We talked about trail road races sometimes require particular types of shoes with particular tread to deal with uneven surfaces. And this is one of my favorites. This is the Mizuno, hold up the logo, Mizuno Kazan. You can see the colors are kind of a little bit wild. This is what it looks like from the front. And I'll show you the other side. And the tread. You can see the tread just looks like it's designed for trails. You can see that sticks and things like that would probably just fall out of those. The problem you have with conventional running shoes is you get a rock or something wedged in there, and then when you're running, you just hear rock on pavement, rock on pavement, rock on pavement. And, you know, that could be very annoying to have to stop and, you know, not just take a rock out of your shoe from the inside, but have to take rocks out from the underside because you chose the wrong running shoes for the day, or you landed on rocks incorrectly. Here's what the tread looks like here. It's kind of a, how would I describe it? It's kind of a like flower petals or a snowflake type of tread. There we go. These are the shoes that I ran in for my first 50K ultramarathon last October, and they're just fantastic. They're, I think the drop, you know, some runners are looking for how much the drop is. I think it's 12 millimeters down to 4. I think it's an 8 millimeter drop. I kind of went to 0 drop for a while and didn't find that to be ideal. I was getting too much friction on my underside of my foot and my heel area. So kind of went back to the 4 to 8 millimeter drop is kind of more ideal for me. But some of you may find that 0 drop is beneficial, and I have run a full marathon in these. These are the Topo Athletic MT trail shoes, and you can see the tread is kind of closer to the Nike style waffle design, but in kind of a modified off, you know, a little bit more asymmetrical, staggered, kind of more for the trail terrain. I'll show you the heel. And actually, these were freebie that I went on Twitter also. There was a run this year, Twitter chat, and we were talking about all kinds of, I think we were talking about races and maybe trail races or something. And these were new shoes that Topo Athletic came out with, and just very impressive shoe, but again, 0 drop. So you're going to feel this a lot more on your feet than you are, you know, the Mizunos are a little more, a lot more cushioned, and you don't feel the beating on your feet quite as much as you would with something like this. You know, running a full marathon in these, I've done it, but it wasn't ideal. But for general trail running that isn't, you know, extreme distance, the Topo Athletic is actually an awesome trail shoe if you're looking at a 0 drop option. So you can see the tread side by side. Got kind of the snowflake design with Mizuno, which I think is superior. And I don't know, I'm just not a big waffle fan. I used to like the Nike waffle tread, and kind of fell out of favor with me. My feet are narrow, so I found that a lot of the Nike shoes were too wide for my feet when I got a little older. And, you know, when I was younger and first started running marathons, I think I was running in the Nike Pegasus for my first 2. And then at some point I had to switch due to the width of my foot. And I think as we get older, we get more flat footed too. And so that becomes an issue with picking your shoes. I am impressed with Skechers. I have a Skechers, it's the memory foam. It has memory foam on the inside, very comfortable. You know, these are the shoes that Meb Keflezighi wore in winning the Boston Marathon. Skechers sponsored him, and so everybody was suddenly, you know, looking at buying Skechers. You know, they're not my favorite running shoe, and I've got to be careful with them on sidewalks. The sidewalk cracks, if I'm wearing the Skechers, I'm a little bit more likely to trip and fall, I think, than some of the Mizuno shoes that I wear. But I wear the Mizuno Wave Rider 18s, and I'll talk about those and show those on a future show, and maybe we'll have a special shoe show. Runners can bring their shoes, and we'll talk about running shoes and maybe nothing else. So I just wanted to kind of let you know about the Run Laughlin race in Nevada and Arizona that I'm running in 30 days. It's on the 5th of December, which I believe is a Saturday. So I'm flying down to Las Vegas, driving to Laughlin, staying in Laughlin, very close to the course, and running that morning, and then flying back on Sunday, the day after that. So I'll be covering the Run Laughlin Half Marathon for Run Chat, and Run Chat is held on Sunday nights. I'll just put that in there. The time varies. It really depends which week it is. Sometimes it's at 9 Central, sometimes it's 7 Central, sometimes I think it's at 8 Central. So I really have to check every week and see. The 5th week of the month, it's a different time, if there is a 5th week, and it's kind of complicated. But that's on Sunday nights. Another running chat you might want to check out that talks about road races is BQ Chat is on Wednesday nights, every other Wednesday nights. So I'll type that in. There's Bib Chat is on Tuesday nights. And let's see, is that the major ones? I think that really is. There are periodic Run This Year chats, but I think those tend to be monthly, and I think they've scaled those back, actually. I don't know if they're still occurring every month. I haven't seen one in quite a while. So anyway, just wanted to give you an opportunity to learn a little bit more about training for road races, talk about the Run Laughlin Bullhead Half Marathon. I think it's Run Laughlin Bullhead City Half Marathon. I'm going to have to check on that when I'm down in Arizona and that part of the course. And let you know that they're still accepting entries. So if you're interested in running a race, you want to come with us to Nevada and Arizona, run in 2 states, run in 2 time zones, cross the Davis Dam, run on the trails a little bit, come to a warm part of the country when it's usually pretty cold, wintry, icy, and snowy, as it is here in Nebraska. Check it out. It's runlaughlin.com is their website. And I want to emphasize that I'm available for run coaching. Any of you that are interested in having a running coach to help you in any capacity, take you to a higher level, look at your nutrition, your sleep, your training schedule, periodizing that training schedule and customizing it to what you need to get to the next level. I think a lot of us, we find that we have problems with, an injury, or the nutrition isn't right, or we're cutting corners in sleep, or we just don't, we can't get the periodization right on the training, and figuring out how many rest days to take and all that. I mean, it's a very complicated process to run effectively and efficiently if you're trying to maximize your potential. And I say that as someone that's been running since 1988, running full marathons since 1988. I really began running closer to 1980 or so, but not very seriously until probably about 1985 is when I got really serious about running with cross country in high school, and then in college it became my major form of stress relief. You can go out and run, unwind, unplug. I would emphasize, if you're training for a road race or running a road race, you might want to think about taking out the headphones. Safety reasons. Runners get injured, killed, just because they're wearing headphones and have music or podcasts going. And you want to be safe. So, I mean, there's the option of taking out one headphone. Some runners will at least have one ear free to catch noise and such, but you want to make sure that you're staying safe. So be careful about training with headphones. sometimes I'll wear headphones and not be playing anything, but it's simply to block the wind. We have ridiculous wind here in Nebraska, especially this time of year. And I was hoping to have the show outside today, but the wind proved to be too daunting for the task. So I'll have to make that up to you in a later show. Maybe we can catch a non-windy day later here in November. But anyway, just want to give you an opportunity to learn more about training for road races, figuring out how to customize that. And remember, the table of road races and the 4 legs are eating healthy food, drinking water, exercising in an intelligent manner, and sleeping and resting to make sure that you can take your potential to that mountaintop experience of your next race. So again, I'm Jeremy Murphy. I can be reached at Jeremy P. Murphy on Twitter. My running blog is runninggrooveshark.com. And I'm also on Blab. You can find me on Blab. Feel free to contact me for any running help. And have an awesome day. And I look forward to having any of you. I see we have a couple more people who joined us here. Ben. Hey, Ben and Coach Michael. Good to see both of you. I'm going to pause the recording. Our dog is outside and she wants to come in. And she's barking and affecting the quality of the recording. So I'm going to pause it and I'll come right back. So hold on, I'll be right back. Yeah, it only happens when I'm doing a Blab show. My daughter's promised to watch the dog and she's in her room. So hold on a moment, please. Yeah. Hi, this is Jeremy. I'm going to let Michael Merlino in, Coach Michael. He's a fellow running coach.
Hey, what's up?
Hey there, Michael. How are you?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. How goes it? I got to give you some love, man, because us running coaches are like sometimes loners out here. I'm like, where are the runners at? You know?
We are. We're in these running silos that only seem to. They don't. It's tough to. I'm having trouble getting runners to jump over to Blab. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I guess they're working too. I think a lot of them might be working right now. What do you think?
To make you, am I echoing? I'm hearing an echo, but.
Oh, I thought I did, and then I think it went away. Okay.
I'm hearing it on my end, but I don't think it's me though. But
okay.
Okay.
Yep.
I just want to. I wouldn't be concerned about that because I've got a group of 200 in Houston. I can't. It's like pulling teeth to get these guys on a Blab, and I was hoping I could use Blab for them, so I could hit an angle like you've been doing, and then share the love with anybody else on Blab. And I'm getting more people that are just organic Blab people jumping in than I am my own people that pay me to train.
Yeah. Right. That's. Well, and I'm even looking at our subscribers for this show today. I'm not sure that any of them are really runners without checking. I think some of them are just people that have been trying to be supportive of me and what I'm trying to do on Blab. But I wonder if maybe we could work on forming some kind of running coaches roundtable or something like that on Blab and see if we can get people to kind of come in for something like that. I mean.
Hey, I'd be glad to. I haven't talked to you about it, man, but I'd be glad to team up with you if you want to, put two heads together, and hey, at least that way, instead of 3, you've got 6 or 8 or 10 maybe in here. And, but we do have another guy here, so I don't know. I'm just talking road races, but I had a great. I had 14 runners run New York City Marathon and a 14 finish, so it was a good weekend in New York. So I'm happy about that.
Cool. Have you ever run New York? I can't remember.
Man, I ran it last year, and now that you're talking about road races, I would recommend anybody that's here, anybody that's got a pulse, anybody that loves running and road racing, go to the New York City Marathon right now, get the date for the lottery, and sign up or run for a charity, because it's got to be. It's probably my top, other than my first marathon, and I've run a ton of them. It's probably my best running moment, and I would actually put it in my top 10 events that have happened in my life.
Wow.
It's that powerful. Yeah.
What year did you say you ran it last year? Did I get the year right?
Well, yeah, it was last year, 2014.
Okay.
And it was my nemesis for about 3 years because I signed up and then I got injured. I couldn't run it 1 year. Mm-hmm. And then Hurricane Sandy hit. So
yeah,
with Sandy, they allowed you to, they gave you 3 years to defer it because they wanted to spread all those cancellations out over 3 years, or there was no way anybody would get in. Right. Mm-hmm. So on the Sandy deferral, I deferred to 2014 and I ran it last year.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's I ran it in 2004. I decided I wanted to run it right before we adopted our daughter, and I'm glad I did because you start with a young kid, you're just and I think a lot of us that are parents, that's one of those tugs of war that your priorities are pulling at you from different directions, and it's hard to get those to jibe. But like you, it was an unforgettable experience for me. In fact, I've of the 15 or so marathons that I have run, it's the way that you were treated on the course and all that. I mean, it was head and shoulders above all the others.
Yeah. I'm going to tweet. Oh, they create a GIF now. This is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if I like the GIF or not. It's kind of funny. What I don't like about it is that it takes longer to tweet with it in it. I guess I don't mind so much, having it flying around. I just, the fact that it slows, I guess it has to form the GIF to send it out or whatever. So
I don't even know how this is going to look. I'm going to send it to my Twitter feed, man. See if we can get some makers out here, but I've never seen that.
Find out.
I've been taking some blab breaks lately, to be honest with you. Yeah.
It's you all have to find. We all have to take our breaks and back off on certain days. Otherwise, it's consuming your life, maybe more than we want it to. That's sort of like running can do if we overtrain. I talked a little bit about overtraining today, and I'd like to do a show on that because
we could do 20 shows on that.
Well, we probably could do 25 or more shows than that.
That would be, that's enough material as a coach. You feel my pain, man. As a coach, that's like a year's worth of material because I don't know if you find yourself doing this, but like I'll use New York City, for example. The toughest thing, and I'm sure you hit this when you talked about overtraining, but the toughest thing to get through to people, and it's a multifaceted thing, and it's exercise 101, and it's not sexy, and people don't want to hear it, but it's just over pacing on long runs.
Yeah,
it's just you want to destroy yourself during your running training season, and you want to mess with your ability to get a PR or to have a solid, decent race where you don't feel like someone beat the heck out of you when you're done.
Yeah.
Then go ahead and overpace every Saturday, every Sunday, whenever you do your long run for a 16, 20, 24, 36-week season. And that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
So always continually trying, and it's a struggle with yourself, with your own running, as you know, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Just sometimes you got to pull the reins back and say, what am I doing here? And you're looking at your Garmin going, I'm not Meb. Why am I trying to be Meb?
Yep.
So,
hey, Michael, I'm thinking about maybe your co-host because I might have to jump out to fix this echo.
Yeah, that's fine if you want to do that. I've got time.
You have a little time?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me.
I don't hear it anymore on my end, but I've wanted to experiment. I've never been a co-host, so I guess it's the first time for everything here.
Okay. Well, and now of course it goes away. You think you have an echo, and then the echo goes right away.
Yeah, it's weird. So. I know I don't have problems with this, but sometimes when I come in, it's like the room has to stabilize or something, and then it just goes away. It's weird.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Hey, we have a question from Benny. Or wait, it's Ben. I'm sorry. You read the name up here and you read the handle over here. And,
I know. Yeah.
I don't know. If you don't go by Benny and you go by Ben, I'm sorry about that. I should just read the question. But how many miles would you recommend to run before doing a marathon?
Wow. Well, there's a lot in that question, but I'll give you my quick take, and because I know you probably have your take too, Jeremy. And this is really related to how you and I are trained through RRCA. Many schools of thought on what to peak out. So it sounds like what he's leveraging towards here is, what level would you have to get to run a marathon? And exercise physiology and research will tell you that depends on where you're at with your running. But if you're a beginner, I would say 20 is enough. In some cases, I would say 18 is enough. Benny just posted 22.
Yeah, that's a good range. I don't know. I would. It kind of depends what your goals are, though, doesn't it? I mean, if you're trying to qualify for the Boston Marathon and your longest run is 17 miles, unless you have an injury or something that weighs into this, that's not going to cut it. And although I know that you can have your longest run be 17 and still finish, because I've done that once. It wasn't the wisest thing to do, but it was one of those races. I thought I was just going to run the half, but the sun and the endorphins get to your head and convince you, I can run forever.
And you paid for it, and you had a bib on, and you're feeling like Superman, and
But the 22 to 23 mile range is a good one, because I think a lot of us start to experience calf cramps and things like that happening at about 22, 23, depending on it. It kind of depends where your weaknesses are in your legs and your body. Mine will show up in my calves, about at 23 miles, unless I maybe shorten my strides a little bit or something like that. But yeah, if you want to run, there is some logic for running past that distance before the race, though. And I think, Jeff Galloway will say, okay, well, run 26 to 28 miles or run 28 to 30, but run it super, super slow. I mean, with the brakes on it the whole time on the pace. And
there lies the dilemma, my friend, because a lot of people.
That's the problem. We don't have self-control over that pace. Then that's the absolute wrong thing to do. I mean, you're better to bag it at, to bag the run at 20 miles, and especially if you're doing your first marathon, I think that's enough, in my opinion, for most people. Do you agree?
And I can tell you, I've got about 12 years of good case studies, because I've been coaching. Well, I've been coaching. I coached for charity for 2 years, but that was a lot of walkers.
Cool.
So I don't count that experiment because it wasn't pure running.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been doing my group here in Houston in-flight running for 12. And here's the dilemma that you and I talked about the last time. Most of us don't have a Nike contract.
Yeah.
So when we learn these things as coaches, like what you and I learned at RRCA. Road Runners Clubs of America, by the way, guys, if you want the acronym there, but they have a run coaching certification program. But it's how do I get these everyday Joes and Janes through a pretty rigorous 5 to 6 month training schedule, that have babies, that have family, that have real jobs, that have they're just everyday people. So there's always dancing that line between how do I give them enough to get them physically and mentally ready for a road race, but at the same time, how do I do that so they don't get injured, so I can keep them on their feet, interested and running? Because once they're on the bench, it's a pretty miserable existence as a runner.
Yeah. Hey, I don't mean to interrupt you. I was going to ask you something, though. I mentioned that when you're setting up your 16 to 18 week program, do you build in a week where you just assume everything's going to go wrong, or that something is going to go wrong? I'll put it that way, that you're going to there could be an injury or an illness, or you've got an issue with a family member being sick you've got to take care of. I mean, I'm trying to build that into routines now, because what happens is something will happen like that. And then you have the dilemma of do I need to catch up on my training, or do I just let those workouts go? And I mean,
I'll give you my quick take on that one. First off, I train a group. I do one-on-one coaching, which you can customize more, because obviously you got to charge people more to do that, because it's like, I'm also a fitness trainer. So it's like one-on-one, you have to charge people more, because you really have to gear in you got to really drill down to what they are as a runner, and it gets into exercise psychology and a bunch of crap. But but I have a group program, like a lot of cities have group programs. So you have to build templates, because if you were to go one-on-one with people, I'd have to charge them 5 times the amount of money to coach them.
Yeah.
So what I do is I build my templates. But for example, look, when I do, not really on a beginner, but on a beginner schedule, they peak out at a 21 miler. But I have a 19 miler in there. There's an 18 miler in there. I mean, because it's like you and I would have to have a crystal ball to predict what's going to happen with people's lives. And you know, when you're dealing with a group, in my case with 200 people, you know, hairy things happen. We're all human beings. So people go through divorce. They disappear. They have a death of a loved one. I've had runners that have lost their spouse, you know, lost a child in a car accident, you know. So really bad things happen. And it's so tough to plan for that. So I kind of meld in where they may go up to a 19, they come back down, then I get them back to 21. Knowing that if one of those almost 20 milers falls, they still have one in the tank, and mentally they know that if they can get 20, they can do the extra 6.2, the extra 10K and get through it.
True.
Intermediate schedules, I purposely build in 2 20-plussers on there.
Okay.
Because for those guys, I think they just need more mental. These are people that are going for PRs and things. They need more mental toughness to know beyond a doubt that I'm 5K away, which I think helps people more mentally.
Yeah.
And I still tweak things on the fly. So say you're one of my runners, Jeremy. You know, you're about. It never fails. It's always when people are about to do their peak mileage. But you know, you've got a 16. I had some New Yorkers that got injured before they got to their peak, and then I just go off. I go off schedule, and if they're injured, then I'll basically say, okay, look at your schedule, and let's flip flop some of the build on the miles for the long run, leading up to your peak run. So there's not too much too quickly, but yet we get you pretty close to schedule without doing any undue harm and throwing you into a tailspin. So
how often do you think, or do you find we need to recalibrate schedules like that for just like within a 16 to 18 week period?
Well, I'll put that on the runner. Okay. Cause when you're a coach, here's the problem. People don't let you know. Runners are not going to admit to you, number one, and you know this, that they're injured. Because when a runner admits that they're injured to their coach is going to probably, if he's worth the salt, a guy like you or me, I'm sending him to an MD.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to say, listen, if rest, ice, compression, elevation, all that stuff has not helped this situation, and it's gone from bad to really bad, or you're just in this tailspin, we always have, you know, you're running in pain or discomfort. You know, that's when I'm going to hand them a business card and tell them to call Sports Doc. And I've got an army of them here in Houston, but so I throw that back on the runner. It's up to the runner, if they have a coach, and there's a lot of great online coaches too, to let their coach know where they're at. You know, if there's any aches and pains going on, if they were able to get through these new thresholds, they get up to a 12 miler, they never train for a marathon, but there's thresholds that a lot of people have problems with that they don't listen to. They get over 14, yet they're having calf issue, and then what happens is they push through, thinking that, well, this is just part of long distance running, which pain really shouldn't be. And then here comes the stress fracture. So a tendon ligament issue becomes an instability issue, which becomes a stress fracture. And then whether you like it or not, whether you see a doctor or not, you're out for 6 to 8 weeks. So there's got to be that really open communication between your coach or whoever's writing your schedule. That there lies the problem with just doing a static Hal Higdon or a online schedule that you do. There's not much coaching behind that. There's principles behind it, but there's not a lot of, you know, like, what if this happens and there's a fork in the road? Do I go to the right or do I go to the left? Do I go up in mileage? Do I hope? I always say mileage is like prescription drugs. A lot of times you pull the bottle up and it says, if you skip a dosage, you know, then blow it off. and go on to the next day. Don't double your dosage, right?
Smart.
But as runners, what a lot of times they think is like, well, I didn't get through my 14 miler, so I'm going to do 18 this week. Not on the schedule for 2 stinking months, you know?
Right.
Because you want people to gel right at the right time when they get that peak mileage in there, and then they come down and taper, and they can get through pretty much any road race if they do that correctly. You know?
True. Yeah, that's probably one of the most important things we can tell runners, that if you miss a workout, that it's best to let it go. And I don't know why we have so much trouble letting it go, though. I mean, is it because a lot of us are just addicted to running? We can't let go that. Or we don't want to admit that we failed at it, so we're going to double up and make sure that we, double up and get an injury in exchange for that. That's not fair.
My expression is acknowledge and move on.
Yeah.
Okay? What's on the schedule for tomorrow? Yesterday's burned. Mm-hmm. If you didn't get it in, we've had 2 rainouts. We've had 2 major floods in Houston the past 2 weeks. We had one race that was a warm-up half marathon. That was a major warm-up for the Houston Marathon, which is January. They canceled that thing. The city basically told the race, you shut it down because, we don't want people dying out there, which happened on Memorial Day. We had 9 deaths due to flooding here in Houston. Wow. Last week, I had to call our run because it was like another mosh pit. I was just ridiculous out there,
I was going to ask you about weather disruption, because in Nebraska, the disruption is, it's basically winter weather. It's, snow, ice, sleet, tornadoes, and Texas, I know, is much different. The Texas Panhandle, I know, gets snow, but I know Houston doesn't get much. But
we just have ozone alert. We have ozone alerts, heat index alerts, which I've really got to watch people, especially my asthmatics, and then we have, it's the big fear in Houston is, because we get moisture that builds from the Gulf, is thunderstorms. Like, I'll run them in rain. I tell them from day one, guys, you better go buy some running gear, because if it's raining in Houston and I don't see any lightning strikes, and it's not a thunderstorm, you need to run in the rain, because you need to because guess what? You could have that on race day. Marine Corps Marathon a couple of years ago was a bloody mess because, actually the Hurricane Sandy year, they had rain, but they were able to get the race off, and New York had to cancel. But that stuff happens. It's pretty rare. It's just kind of course, I don't want to say that too loud because I've had 2 cancels this year already, but I think I've had 6 cancels in my 12 years of my own coaching program. And one was Hurricane Ike. And that was like a no-brainer because I didn't want debris flying through people while they were running. So it's the nature of the beast. Like we had a half marathon cancel that was a major warm-up for people in Houston, and people were just heartbroken that it was canceled. I'm like, guys, what do you do about it? What's on the schedule? Yesterday's gone, move on. And sometimes, honestly, the best thing that can happen to your life is you get sick or you have some conflict and you can't do that 12, 14, 16 miler, because sometimes the body needs a break. It just needs to take a load off, man, and
it does build rest back into the routine, doesn't it? If we, at least if we listen to that, illness or injury, it does to recalibrate things.
Yeah, if I could give an example, this is a current example. I had a gal, trained her heart out for New York. I get a call for her. This race was last Sunday. Okay, I get a call from her Monday, and once again, this is a runner who should have communicated to me 3 weeks ago prior to that, and I could have helped her even more. I just went out. I've had problems with my 21 miler. I never told you about it because she didn't want me to send her to a doctor, because the doctor may have said you can't run New York. So it's the Monday before the race. She's in carbo load mode. She texts me, I've got problems. I don't know if I can do New York. So I call her up on the phone. I'm like, oh, what's going on? And it was a soleus, which is, if you guys are looking at the calf muscle, it's like one of the inside. It was the inside muscle on the front of the calf, not quite the shin, but like in the inside there. Okay. And I'm like, well, she goes, well, I went out for a 3 miler, 3-4 miler I had in my schedule because she's in that final week. And I a mile and a half in, I felt like pain. It hurts. I'm like, that's not good. Pain's not good. So I said, well, and then her next question is, what do I do this week? I'm like, you do 0 this week. Like, I don't even know if you can race. So I referred her to a physician, and I'm not going to get on chiropractors' cases, but she was going to a chiro. There's like doctors, like anybody out there, there's great chiros. There's ones that just want to keep putting Band-Aids on a gaping wound.
Sure.
So she didn't go to the doctor. She went to her chiro guy, which is one of these guys that will tell people to run if their leg is falling off. So, but she listened to me and didn't run, but she had some treatment done. And I had her icing twice a day. I had, and I said, no running, no weight bearing, get on a stationary bike, try that, like a nice easy spin for 30 minutes to kind of test it out. And I said, I want you to go out the door, maybe Wednesday before you, or Thursday before you head out for like a little baby 1 or 2 miler, shake it, see how it feels. And it was still kind of painful, but I said, man, if you're going to she was going to make the trip, that she'd already invested the money. She was going to go. Mm-hmm. And by the grace of God, man, she handled herself with kid gloves. She listened to what I told her. I said, no running. I said, professional runners, you can go back to, who's the one, the UK runner, the female, she would kill herself racing. You know what I'm talking about?
Paula
Radcliffe.
Okay.
A lot of those pros, man, they literally would do aqua jogging in a swimming pool, come out of a swimming pool and run a road race, So I was trying to give her examples of real-time pros that have done it. I'm like, you just don't need the miles, man. The hay is in the barn. Handle yourself with kid gloves. Go to New York, see how it plays out. Do not spend a bunch of time at the expo. Stay off your feet.
Yeah.
Good and advice. She did what I told her to do, and by the grace of God, she got through that race, and she ran like a 4:20.
Wow.
So
good time, especially for someone from the Australian community like that.
No, it was a roll of the dice still. If I would have known about this little tweak thing that was tweaking her, and this goes back to the communication between the athlete and the coach, mm-hmm. I could have modified, going back to your point, I could have modified those final weeks because she had already made it through her peak.
Right.
Technically, she could have rolled out 15 miles a week and it wouldn't have made a difference, Mm-hmm. But as runners, this sport creates a lot of freaks, what can I say, that just are not willing to put the shoes down, because running is a very addictive thing.
It is.
Anybody on here knows. I mean,
yeah. Why are we as runners so afraid to call the doctor or to talk to doctors about injuries? We're just afraid of bad news?
Because some guy or gal is going to tell you to hang up the shoes and stop. And a lot of runners are not willing to even have an MD who's licensed and certified to tell you not to run through pain, mm-hmm. to stop. Yeah. And that's the only thing. Listen, we've talked about this before. Marathon programs nationally have a 60% dropout rate. I'm 40% in Houston, and I still take it personal. Now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to open communication with my athletes, like putting a injury report form on my website. So, and I'm telling them, like, you guys have anything tweaking you fill out the injury report. It sends me an email. This is what's going on. This is, it's my right or left calf. And then I can get them on the phone and triage, because a lot of times I can give them kind of some home remedy stuff to get through that stuff.
Sure.
But if I look at it and go, pain's been there for a week, then I'm going to say, you need to call Dr. Ross, my shoe guy, or Dr. Harrell, my sports medicine guy, or whoever. So I'm trying to open that up, because I'd love to get that down from 40 to 20.
Yeah.
Now that may be close to impossible, because that would take a lot of runners to actually listen to half of what I tell them to do. Okay, which is not going to happen.
In one ear and out the other.
Yeah, it's like, he's telling me not to run. La 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 la. What'd you say? La la la.
That's impossible. I have to run no matter what. I mean, I struggle with that myself.
Yeah. No, I've been there, man. And that's the thing. Guys like you and I who have done the goofy stuff in our running career, who are now coaches, I tell them, like, listen, I like the gal in New York, she didn't believe me. I go, let me tell you a little story about when I was training for the San Diego Rock and Roll Marathon in 2000. And I went out for I kid you not, Jeremy, my final 3-mile baby run before I get on the plane. I get 1.5 miles in, and I feel severe pain in my calf. almost the same injury she's described. It was soleus. I found out later it was soleus because I was doing too aggressive. I was doing way too aggressive track workouts way too soon before race day, and which is like a no-no. And so it was one of these. You don't want to believe it. You're like, seriously? Well, it's just pain. It'll go away. And I iced it. I took the flight, and I was taking ice baths. I was doing anything potentially that I could do. And I literally was jogging. I was jogging in the, I got my gear on in the morning, getting ready for the race. And I was literally I was jogging down the hallway in the hotel. And I took 3 steps in pain. I'm like, man, I can't. So I got on with Continental Airlines at the time and said, give me the next flight out of here. And the painful part of it is, while I'm making the phone call to Continental Airlines, the race had started, and the race route went by my hotel room, man. So I'm looking down I'm looking out the window, and the runners are going by. I'm like, oh my God, get me out of here, man. That was like so depressing. But then that happens and at the time I was coaching people, but I knew that pain was not good. I would have destroyed that calf. I could have potentially destroyed my running and my coaching career by saying, I'm just going to gut it out and I'm going to run my 26.2. You can't do stuff like that.
Yep.
So
true. Well, I think I'm thinking about maybe wrapping this up.
Sure.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine. Unless we had any last minute questions here that people had a few roll in.
We answered Ben's, and I think Ben left us. I meant to respond to him again before he left, and
I don't know if is it Tran? I don't know if she had a question. It looked like she was still in here.
Yeah, I don't know if she would have a question, but I think she's just here to be supportive.
Cool.
So, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. This has been a good discussion. Jeremy Murphy with Coach Michael Merlino. Appreciate you joining us, Michael, and
Sure.
Ben with your question, and Ha for joining us, and for anybody else that's watching this and watching the replay. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Okay?
All right. Take care, Jeremy. See you.
Bye. Let's see. I'm going to unpin that. Just want to remind people, if you need to reach me with any need for run coaching, you can reach me at Jeremy P. Murphy on Twitter. I'm also my running blog is at runninggrooveshark.com. I also have a positivity website called positivitypatrol.com. So that gives you a couple different ways to reach me. Happy to work with runners of all levels or anyone wanting to get into running. And please let me know. I'd be happy to help you out. All right. Thanks. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.